Hello, folks. It's Rebekah here at Rebekah's Retro, back with another Friday Finds video. This week I'm going to talk about Blue Willow China or pottery. It goes by both names, China or pottery. It's one of the most enduring China patterns in the Western world. Blue willow was first introduced in England in the late 1700s, and you can still pick up new blue willow patterns in lots of different stores. And in fact, I've seen it on paper plates and plastic cups. So it continues to be a very popular pattern. But I'm going to show you blue willow pieces that were mainly made in the 1920s and 30s, maybe into the 40s. I'm still trying to date all of these different pieces that I have. The reason why I'm showing you blue willow is on my last trip to Harris Auction, my hometown source of all things vintage, a couple weeks ago, there was a huge lot of blue willow. Now I was bidding against a couple of other very determined shoppers, and so I only got about a third or maybe a little more of the blue willow. I probably could have gotten it all if I would have really tried, but I thought I'd better leave well enough alone. And so I let the other shoppers get some of these beautiful dishes. But when I got home and sorted through it all and picked out the pieces that had chips and some discoloration, I still had more than 70 pieces. So I've been hard at work getting these beautiful dishes into my store. And so I'm happy to share them with you here today. Now, what is blue willow? As I mentioned, it was introduced in the late 1700s in England, which is interesting because it has a Chinese theme to it. It's what's called chinoiserie, and this was a very popular theme in decorating in the 17 and 1800s in Europe. It brought Chinese themes and gave it kind of a European twist. There are some distinctive features of blue willow, and I have a little cheat sheet here that I'm using so I can get these right as I'm showing you. One of these is a willow tree, which is right there, a Chinese pagoda or tea house, and behind it is a tree with these kind of round features on it. It's sometimes called an orange tree, or you'll also see it referred to as an apple tree. There's a bridge with three men walking across it, or three figures. It might be women, we're not quite sure. There's also this zigzag fence down here at the bottom of the design. There's a boat, and usually there's a figure in the boat. And then there's another tea house up here with a pine tree behind it. And then there are always two birds in flight. So those are the basic motif of blue willow, and you'll see those with slight variations on most blue willow patterns. They also have an outside rim of a geometric pattern, and then the English and American and a lot of other European countries would have this inner band of geometric design as well. And that's one of the things that kind of separates British or English American from Japanese, because the Japanese pieces tend not to have that inner geometric band. Now, as soon as I said that, then I came across a Japanese pattern with the band. This is from some of them that I got last week. Here's the mark back here, and it said made in Japan. But by and large, pieces that were made in Japan did not have that inner band on it. Here's a fun fact, a couple fun facts about willowware. You've heard perhaps of the blue plate special. That was a feature in American diners and restaurants in the 1920s and 30s. Well, conventional wisdom is that that name comes from those divided plates that you might have seen in some old collectibles. I wish I had one here to show you that I don't. But they were frequently in the blue willow pattern, and so they became known as the blue plate special. Another fun fact is that if you watch old episodes of Andy Griffith's show, Aunt Bee had blue willow. So you would have seen that on the plates, on the tables. That would have been the dishes. Well, I want to show you some different patterns, but one of the things that makes collecting blue willow or trying to figure out the date of the blue willow that you find so difficult is that over 400 English and Japanese companies produced a blue willow pattern over this long time frame that blue willow has been produced. And then when we add in American and European companies, there's more than 500 different marks or companies that produce blue willow. So that can make it really a challenge to figure out when was this particular piece that you're looking at produced. There are books that can help you with that, and online searching is also very helpful. But it is very time consuming. But I don't think it really matters unless you're really one of those picky collectors who wants to get all of one pattern or all of one era. They go together so beautifully and they're so much fun that I say just go for it. But let me show you some of the pieces that I have here. Now, one of the things that's interesting and makes dating your particular piece of blue willow a challenge is that even if you see the mark of a particular company, that mark can change over time. So for example, here's one by an English company called W. Ridgway. So there's one mark. And then here we see another one of their marks. And you can see this one has a bow and arrow with it. In fact, most of the Ridgway pieces that I've seen have that. But there you can see the blue willow pattern in that and the blue willow pattern in that. I have no idea which of these is older. I have not been able to find this particular Ridgway mark, no matter how much I've looked. Maybe somebody out there will be able to send me a message and let me know something about it. But there you see some of the challenge. But that's okay. It doesn't really matter. Let me show you some Japanese. Most of the Japanese willowware just says the word Japan on the back or made in Japan, although there are particular marks. Here's one that made in Japan in a particular company. To keep doing this so you can see the birds up there on the top. The first American company to make blue willow was the Buffalo China Company, and you can see their mark on there. This was a very early Buffalo China mark. It doesn't have the buffalo or the bison in it, like a lot of the Buffalo China marks. Very pretty and very sturdy. I really like Buffalo China blue willow. I actually like it all, but it's nice to see one that was made in the good old USA. Here is an English cup and saucer. So you see that. This one didn't really identify the pottery company or the China company. It simply says made in England. And there you see the cup. Very nice. And then I also have a made in Japan cup and saucer. Again, very pretty. Another fun fact here is, I get these two pieces. The birds are different on the Japanese and the English. The English birds are much thinner. The Japanese birds are plumper. Just another one of those funny distinguishing marks between Japanese and English blue willow. It is possible to collect a whole huge set. I mean, they made every kind of piece, serving pieces, so you can get a lot of blue willow. But you don't have to stick to just blue willow because it goes beautifully with other blue transferware patterns. For example, here we have the Old English castle pattern. And let me put this blue willow right up there beside it. Look how pretty that looks together. You don't have to worry about getting everything the same. The nice thing about blue transferware, which blue willow is an example of blue transferware. Not all blue transferware is blue willow, but all blue willow is transferware. And I did a video on transferware, so if you're interested in that, you can go back and look at an earlier video. Here is a pretty Old English countryside blue transferware picture, And then look at that with the teacup. Isn't that pretty? They go together nicely. Well, there you have it. Blue Willow, my pick of the week, because that's what I've been working with mainly this week. And I encourage you to go out and look for it yourself, or if you don't want to run around looking for it at yard sales, thrift shops, antique stores, you can find a growing and beautiful selection of Blue Willow right here at Rebekah's Retro. So that's it for this week, and I look forward to seeing you back here again next week at Rebekah's Retro Friday Finds video, or in between at my store, Rebekah's Retro at Etsy.com. Have a great week and enjoy some pretty dishes, maybe even Blue Willow. Bye.